Well, good afternoon and evening, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So as I'm recording this, it's now July 5th, 2025, the very first weekend of July, and at the same time, we're starting the second half of 2026. I always say that it's crazy how time flies, because I feel like it was only yesterday that it was my birthday. Not to mention too that it feels like it was just yesterday when I was with my friends having a nice beef Wellington over at Gibby's. But nevertheless, it's still nice out here. And it feels like that it's been a little while since I did a full-blown recording episode in the backyard, since I've mostly been focusing on doing some wanders around the city, meeting up with one of my friends, and etc. And today I felt like doing something a little bit different compared to the usual bavet that I would do when I feel like grilling. One thing that I've enjoyed trying out from time to time is a whole chicken on the barbecue. If you're a longtime viewer, then you probably remember I did it back in 2021 and 2024 for that matter, and since I got a few new subscribers ever since those episodes were recorded, I'll put a card in the top right corner if you want to revisit the old style one. But I'm going to be doing that again today with a different style seasoning. Unlike the other ones that require brown sugar, mustard, and come across like a barbecue dry rub, this one is going to be an Asian style one involving Chinese spices. I looked up online because there was one ingredient I thought, how do you make this? And it always feels like it was a mystery when I looked in the store, and finally I was able to crack the mystery. So before we do that today, here's something I suggest for you. You got it. Hit that subscribe button below and put the notification bell on, because that way, if there's a new video ready to view, you are going to get a pop-up on your phone. And while you're at it, give me a thumbs up, because the more likes I get, the more comments I get, the more these videos are promoted all across YouTube. So it helps me get the algorithm going, or doesn't help me. What am I saying? The algorithm will spread it around the more likes there are, so it does help. And since we surpassed 500 subscribers now, let's keep the momentum going and see if we can hit 600 soon. Oh yeah, and of course, if I'm going to be doing a grilling in the backyard, I have my olive tapas, and I got my trusty IPA to go along with it. Now, this one is from the Memento Brewery that I've showcased a little while ago. I don't go there very often, but it's around St. Patrick Street in Point St. Charles, not that far away from the Four Origins Brewery, and by extension, not far from where my grandparents were living when my dad was born at the time. If you want to see that episode, that was recorded in 2024, where I did a little walk around the southwest of Montreal from the Point back into Verdun. So I'll put a card, once again, if you want to see that one. But regardless, this one I got because it's a brand new IPA, and it's something that they call Strategu. I wasn't sure what the name was, and I guess it was the artwork that caught my attention, because it's clearly some muscle-bound humanoid kangaroo that's hopping in the wintertime. Oh wait, they have a description on the back. On the board, a kangaroo in the igloo. Unexpected, but exactly where it belongs. Wait, kangaroos are from Australia. How do they belong in igloos? Strategu is a game of hops. Every move is chosen, every jump deliberate. It's about timing, balance, and knowing when to press and when to hold. Well, tales of mystery and imagination for the win, if you want to go with the Edgar Allan Poe reference. I guess I'll find out exactly what this one is supposed to be like. The percentage on this is about a good 7, which is very similar to the Four Origins Montreal State of Mind. And of course has the same look and feel of a New England IPA, so I don't have to beat that bush up. Of course, if we're going to be doing nature, I have a kangaroo here, and on the glass I got a buck from my friend Julie, who gave me these pine glasses a little while ago. So great way to get started, and to just enjoy a nice brew in the backyard before we get started with preparing the chicken, the spices, and of course the vegetables. Because let's face it, I'm in my 40s now, I got to make sure I eat well. Yep, nice and strong. I dig it. So like I said, There's no way that I'm going to be doing some barbecuing with meat and not have any vegetables whatsoever. And I'm finding lately, ever since I did my, yes, it was my Nigerian beef suya skewers, I've enjoyed doing corn on the cob when it's wrapped up in foil, dressed in a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, and maybe some paprika. Once again, if you want to see that episode again, I can put a card at the top right corner for you and you can watch it. But I thought I could do something a little bit different because I was checking online to see what other kinds of herbs, spices could go well with corn on the cob. And one that came up quite a bit is parsley. And I just have to remind myself of the fact that I have some Italian parsley that's grown in my garden and I haven't really used as much. So why not put it to good use? So I chopped some of that up. I'm going to dress up a little bit in here with the usual olive oil, salt, maybe some pepper, and of course, you could use some basil as well. Fresh basil is probably even better, but I got this dried stuff right now that I'm going to put to use because it seems like that the basil I have is not as big as it used to be compared to previous years. I have to check my garden again to see if everything's been okay. Nevertheless, I've got some corn here that I trimmed. Oh, a few strands I'm just going to get rid of. And I'm just going to take a few pieces of parsley just to dress on top. And then I'll be able to roll it up and then it'll be compressed, glued onto it, well, adhesive to that. But of course, I will need to have some oil as well. So I'm not going to measure just how much I'm going to need here because eventually if there's any leftovers, I could just use it for my other veggies, maybe a season up my grills or whatever else. Once again, let's take a little bit in a bowl, grab yourself a small brush, and then just apply it gently onto your corn. Just like so. There we go. That's good here. And once again, a little bit of salt, but not too much salt. And then after that, just gonna roll this up. And there you go. 1 cob of corn all set to go, 4 more left. But of course, I could use that for meals over the week, or in case family wants to have a sample of it too. It all depends on what they feel like having. Oh, what am I doing? I'm gonna need another piece. Oh, you know, I kind of realized too that when I was putting together the first ear of corn, I forgot that I wanted to put some basil on here, but never even applied it to that. So there's just going to be one that doesn't have it, but you know, whatever. Okay, that's that. Just want to put a disclaimer like I pulled out the basil, didn't use it, and blah, blah, blah. So don't put that in the comments. On with the show. Okay, so that's the last head of corn, or ear of corn. Yep, it's an ear of corn. So I'll keep that aside, and then I'll work on my next vegetables here, which are just going to be basic Brussels sprouts. Yeah, those of you who have followed me for the last year or so, you probably know I've really grown to enjoy making these on the barbecue. The only downside this time of year is that I find that if I go to my Costco, I don't seem to find any Brussels sprouts whatsoever anymore. It's almost like, even though we're getting to peak season very soon, they don't sell them until like maybe once again in August, maybe back in September. So it means I have to go for like local stuff, which is not necessarily a bad thing either, and then use that instead. Because at this point, this thing was like maybe £1 for about $2 at my fruit store, which is kind of a crazy price. And I mean that in a good way. Not like the price of meat these days where I feel like you're paying an arm and a leg for it. And because of the size of this, you'll notice I did it in quarters as opposed to halves. Had these things been smaller, I would have just done them in half. But I kind of want to ration this out considering these aren't going to be my only vegetable of the week. It is going to be mixed in with the corn and maybe some other leftovers I have laying around the fridge. So once again, cut off the core at the bottom because that's going to be the hardest part. Remove any of the leaves that look like they're deteriorating, then slice it in half. And then of course, slice it again in a quarter, and then keep it in the bowl. And then you keep repeating it until you're all good to go. As for how I'm going to dress it, that's going to be a debate for me. There we go. So I got all of my Brussels sprouts to cut up. I didn't really do a montage of that because you've seen me do it countless times. I figured nobody needs to see that yet again. But I'm going to be keeping this aside. And then I'm going to be working on the next step over here, which is the dry rub for my chicken. So once again, I want to do something a little bit different compared to the typical one I've done for my barbecue chicken. Thought there's got to be other ways of preparing this too. Like, couldn't you do technically something Asian, like something Asian? And the good news, I found a recipe to use like Chinese 5-spice. It's one of those things that if you were to look at that in the store, you see ingredients, it would just say mix of spices or various spices, which is like, okay, Captain Obvious, thank you for telling me that. Now, what is that exactly is in here? And luckily I found one other variant that you could find online and be able to put it together yourself too. So it's actually pretty straightforward. Like, if you have a full spice rack, you can do it yourself here. So without further ado, we're gonna get started with that. First thing I'm gonna be doing is, I got my mixing bowl over here, and I'm gonna be using star of anise. This stuff kind of smells like licorice, and I don't really use it as much of my cooking. Like lately, if I've been doing some rice, I'll probably add that for flavoring. But the one thing I did do this for on camera was when I did my chicken biryani for the very first time after having it, you know, pretty much in a restaurant, only at an Indian place. If you want to see that episode, then I'll put a card in the top right corner and you can watch that one yet again. Although I'm kind of wondering, like, can I do this with just the recipe I have over here? Or maybe I should double up the recipe just to make sure I have enough of a spice mix. You know what? Judgment call is made. I'm going to be doubling this up. So instead of 2 star of anise, I'm going to be doing 4. Next, you are going to need some whole cloves. So it says like 3 of them. 3 whole cloves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for good luck. I don't really use this as often compared to like ground cloves when I'm doing the spice mixes, but I guess it's a first time for everything. Then it's asking for 1 teaspoon of Szechuan peppercorns. Tell you the truth, I'm not as familiar with the Szechuan peppercorns, and the only reference I have with Szechuan is I know there's plenty of restaurants around where they advertise, you know, like best Szechuan in Montreal. I saw them a lot as a kid, but I was always told it's super spicy. So I've yet to be able to have one of those restaurants to see what it's like. Sad thing is I don't have those kind of peppercorns, but I do have a bag of black Votsi periphery wild peppers. Smell pretty nice, so I am just gonna do like a full, like 1 teaspoon worth of those corns. Oh, and they still have the stem in there too. Throw a few more here. There we go. Seems to be fine. Because I remember as a kid, if I was to be sniffing the ground pepper up, that would probably make me want to sneeze in no time. So with that, oh, right. It's going to be hard to make this into a dry rub if I'm using just these on its own. I'm going to have to find a way to get these all grilled up. So I did find a solution for this. I realized that I have a coffee grinder in my house that I use just for coffee, but there's an old grinder that also doubles as a spice grinder that typically you could do that. You could kind of mix up everything in there, grind up into a fine powder. And because I was just trying to improvise, I just plugged it onto the side of the house and got this all taken care of. So as you can see, it comes off as a nice fine brown powder over here. So that should probably get more of the job done. And just to make sure I have everything here, yes, I did wash my hands, so don't ask that question. Just throw it in the bowl, and then I'll be able to continue to mix up with everything else. And let's just make sure that there's no waste at all. Now, what's the next ingredient I'm going to need? Okay, so half a teaspoon of ground ginger, so that's going to be a full teaspoon. You'll notice I did a full teaspoon of peppercorn, but that's because I didn't want to make it too spicy, and kind of figured that I could keep it as is like that so it's not overpowering. Because I've done stuff with too much pepper, too much cayenne, and it's going to be a lot. So we got that. And then lastly, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Not something I would have thought about if I was going to be making the spice rubs for my meat, but ever since I've been doing my jerk chicken and my own homemade curry powder, it's actually been something that's been pretty useful for me, to tell you the truth. So now that I have this here, yep, I'm looking at the quantity now and I feel like this is actually going to be just enough for mixing in with the entire chicken now. So I am pretty satisfied. There we go. And then it's going to look something like this here, like a brown powder, all blended in. Lovely. There we go. So now that I got my cleanup all taken care of, I'm just going to be applying a little bit of plastic wrap over here, just to make sure I don't have to clean up too much on the table, because I am going to be handling raw chicken. And if you know a thing or two about raw chicken, you don't fuck with that, because you could get salmonella from that shit. Allegedly. I never had it, but I heard stories about my christening where my family ordered chicken from like a Saint Laurent chicken rotisserie. It was close to where they lived, and everyone ended up getting sick the next day. So I'm kind of glad that I was only 1 year old at the time and I wasn't eating that. So I have no experience with salmonella, and I want to keep it that way. So anyways, disinfecting this, and then I'm going to be setting up my little apparatus over here, because I had one originally I used back in 2024 that admittedly I left out over here and kind of got deteriorated by, you know, the weather, Mother Nature. So there's a brand new one that I'm going to be using now from the Broil King. And what this is going to do is, it's actually a better made one where you're able to set up an apparatus just like this. Oh, you know what? This is going to be a better idea, because I got two small ones I could use, or two big ones depending on my preferences. So my thought process is that, what the hell? Well, hang on. Oh, actually, it's going to be better that way, because the idea with that is you have this apparatus you can use to keep a beer can in there, and you are going to have to empty out with half of it, essentially to be able to shove up the chicken's butt. I know, the jokes write themselves, but what more can you say? But anyways, for that, I'm going to be using something from the Saint Ambroise brewery that I've shown off before, shown off with my coworker from the office, and I'm using their Russe, or their classic red ale. So the idea with this is that, from what I've been told over the years, that if you're cooking with a beer, you're using it for the moisture, but you might not have the taste of beer over here, versus reds, Scotch ales, where you could cook them and they kind of maintain their taste. But you don't want to use all of it now. You just need to empty out the can for up to about half of it, then just leave it in here, and then that's going to be the way that you could cook the chicken afterwards. So let me just see if I can actually get this thing inserted, because I just want to be sure I don't... Oh, you know what? I should be fine now. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but as long as I have stability with this thing, then we're fine. So put this in the hole here. Ah, there we go. Why am I struggling with this today? Because I have a little notch up here that I can use to put the chicken in, or at least to put these racks on top of. Oh, son of a submariner. What the? Well, I did figure out how to get this thing set up in motion, so I wasn't able to put it in the holes exactly, but what I did was I just put the notches right over here on the side of the plate over here, and then I have it, say, laying right atop where I have the little groove, so it should keep it a bit stable as I'm cooking the chicken over here. Now, in case you haven't done a chicken like this before, the idea with that is that if you have the beer right in the center and you shove it up the chicken's posterior orifice, for lack of a better term, the idea is that this is going to steam up, heat up, and then it's going to rise up, so that way the interior of the chicken is actually going to be cooking from the moisture that you have with the beer that's going to be heating. But what I'm going to have to do too, apparently, is I'm going to set up some oil. And it's tricky because I've read a couple of recipes online that would say that you don't need to have any oil, because the risk that you have with that is that it's going to probably burn too much. But because I have a better equipped barbecue, then that means I should be able to do it well. I have here sesame oil, like about 1 tablespoon worth, that I'm going to apply to the chicken, and then just rub it all in place as I'm applying the spices. And the thing about that too is, if you've been following me for a little while, you know that I don't really use seed oil as much unless it's extraneous circumstances. I'm more of an olive oil and an avocado oil guy, unless it's like poke bowls, maybe for tartare, perhaps even like tuna steak, but on occasion I like to make some exceptions. Okay, not bad. And the beauty too is that this Saint Ambroise amber is like 4.5%. So it's bringing me a little bit further back down to earth compared to that strong kangaroo fucker that I was drinking. So my next step here is I'm gonna get some gloves on, open up the plastic, and then just apply the chicken right on top. And hopefully it's able to fit, and then we could soon get started on the BBQing. Oof, a little bit of juices here, but that's fine. Oh yeah, some people would say that you gotta pat this thing dry before you apply it. And heck, even some people would say you have to rinse your chickens out. And I know I make a big deal about this every time I do this, but why? People say you gotta rinse chicken just because, but then if you're rinsing it, aren't you kind of spreading germs to the rest of your kitchen so that you're spreading salmonella as a result? Like, wouldn't it be easier to just leave it as is? I don't know. I'm just thinking like it's one of those old school style cooking methods, like one of those processes that people just say you gotta do without really thinking, like, do I really have to do that? A bit like when you find those meshes that are on roasts, because apparently it's supposed to, you know, help it cook a little bit more evenly, even though I don't really know if it exactly does that. And if you're thinking about my other video too, then you know that this is where I play that Madonna song Like a Virgin while I'm inserting the beer can up the chicken butt, but I'm not gonna do that joke because I don't wanna repeat myself too much. Okay, perfect. This thing actually worked a lot better than I expected it to. So there we go. And I'm just gonna keep that aside for now. Take one of these gloves off because I don't need to have two gloves on when I'm applying it, because I will want to reach out for that tablespoon of sesame oil. Just lightly apply it, as you can see, and then put the glove back on, and then I'll be able to give it a proper massage and then apply the dry rub directly. Because when I've done pork tenderloin also, I will oil this up lightly so that at the same time it's going to help coat it nicely, and then it will be able to help the spice rub stick properly. So let's work on this now. And there we go. We got a nicely dressed chicken over here. Now, it seems like that even though I doubled the recipe, that I didn't have quite enough to be able to get it all covered completely compared to my other dry rubs. But you know what? I guess I'm okay with that because it's going to give some subtle flavoring too, and I'm not going to have too much runoff to be able to waste all these spices, because I don't like to waste stuff over here. Actually, I'll just take a little bit of rub off that's on the side and maybe reuse that. Yeah, this thing is already kind of dirty, so I know I'm going to have to clean this up afterwards. Okay, so looking pretty good. What I will do now is I am just going to start cleaning all this up, get the fire started, and then afterwards we'll be able to, well, do a nice little montage with music. Hit it. Super. Snap, crackle, pop, Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Yeah, that was a bad joke, so I apologize for that. I don't ooze as much rancid cheddar these days, so I have to make up for it now compared to my earlier days on the channel. But you might have noticed I put an old plank over there, That was a plank I probably used for doing some salmon that I kept aside, and I always feel like I want to keep that in case I want to get a fire going and maybe do some smoking at the same time. So I thought, put this to good use and it'll be able to keep things going nice and hot. And I guess while we're waiting, this is a good time to show you how am I going to be able to do the chicken here without letting it burn, considering that I do have it drenched in some sesame oil. Well, this Vermont Castings grill actually came with a pretty handy tool over here that I'm going to show you right now. Oh, there you go. So, it's starting to rust over here, so I didn't expect that, but essentially I got these two steel or ceramic plates over here. These things are heat deflectors. So there's a middle rack right below the grill mark, and what I could do is I could put this down so that it's able to be a shield for when I'm cooking the meat. The idea is that instead of having direct heat, which means having the fire directly over your meat, you're able to have a shield over here for a barrier so that just the internal temperature that comes from the side of the openings is going to be able to cook it. So it's an easier way to get these things cooked without burning to a tear, or burning to a sear, I suppose. So it's going to be nice. I've been meaning to get this for a while because I knew that one of these days I'd want to do that for grilling. It just took me doing a brand new barbecue to make that go. Oh crap, nice flame going on over here. Last time I had this kind of flame was probably when I was doing Greek chicken, where it was drenched in olive oil and it was able to shoot up pretty far up. If you remember that, go back to 2020, you'll see some of those old videos and you'll remember me with my Greek chicken, the same time I did the Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce. As you can see, I put the heat deflectors on here and I put the grills, so I am probably gonna have to do a cleaning of this down the road, but essentially, once again, with the heat deflector, the heat's not gonna be coming in the center, so if I put the chicken over here, the heat's gonna be coming to the sides, so just gonna be residual steam and such to be able to get this cooked. Now, let's just get this taken care of. So I'm pulling the chicken and I'm gonna place it atop here. And it's probably gonna take me like maybe a good, I would say hour or so, give or take, depending on the temperature you can reach. But the good news is I have this other tool I can use too, which I probably should have done a while back. I have this meat thermometer in here. These things are pretty handy to have you doing random meats because it's easy to cook it to an internal temperature as opposed to giving it a set amount of time and hope for the best. The idea with this though is that you want to have your chicken to an internal temperature of 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, you know, I'm not even going to do the conversion because I rarely use Celsius unless I'm measuring the temperature in the house. But I'll put this here right through the breast of the chicken, close it up, and then we're going to be monitoring that to see how it turns out, and hopefully it's going to be fantastic. But I will say that because of the ground up Chinese 5-spice, it's pretty nice. The cloves are hitting me the most, so I am kind of stoked to see how this is going to turn out. And then overall, I'll also be able to get the sprouts done, the corn on the cob, and then we're good to go from that. So that chicken's going to be taking its sweet time to get all smoked up, all cooked, and then fully juicy on the interior. So I'm definitely stoked to see how it's going to be. But once again, the cloves in there, it gave it a distinct smell. So I'm kind of stoked to see what this is going to be like with a different rub compared to my barbecue rub. The only downside is though, because I was only doing half a can of beer, like half a tall can, I ran out of fuel too quickly, so that means I need to improvise something else while I'm waiting for this to finish up. And the good news is that I have something else that I was able to pick up, courtesy of Le Ravitailleur on Beaubien East, which I'm going to plug again when I put the show notes together. And they got a good variety of stuff that I'm not necessarily able to get on the South Shore, unless I go to Brutzig MV, which I think I'm overdue to revisit them yet again. But regardless, it's something from La Chop Angus, their Wimbledon British Golden Ale, a nice 4.1% blonde beer that I probably had before when I was over at that pub sporadically. Because I feel like I've gone to their stuff, I've gone there twice, picked up a few of the things to have at home on occasion, but the one time I remember to visit, is when I did that walk along Rachel to go from Pit Caribou in the plateau all the way to the Angus area to La Chop Angus. And I'll put a card in the top right corner for you if you want to revisit that one yet again. And it's kind of hard to believe for me that it's been almost, actually more than 3 years since I recorded that video. So time really flies, doesn't it? And, well, this looks like a blonde ale. A lot of head in this, but depending on who you ask, there's no such thing as too much head. So, cheers to a good brew, good food, and dumb jokes as usual. Light and refreshing, gets my approval. Now let's see how long it takes for this bird to smoke up. Let's see what we got over here. Oh yeah. Woof. Charred spicy goodness. Such a beautiful thing. But I could tell by on the temperature over here that it shows that it's done on the thermometer, which means it should be very close to having it completed. But I'll keep it in here just a little bit longer to be on the safe side. But it means I'm also going to be doing a little bit more grilling, because when I was doing my walk earlier, I went to the De La Savane market that I've gone to for my planting over the years. And there's a sausage place where it seems like they make their own stuff from scratch. And I thought, I like a good sausage when it's grilled on the barbecue. I like William J. Walter especially, but it's not very often I do those on my own, like try brand new ones. So I thought, let's see what theirs is like. And I got myself a chicken piri-piri. Actually, sorry, piri-piri chicken. I know how to make my own piri-piri chicken spice, just an FYI. Then there's also a bière piquante, so a spicy beer one. And then there's also this red one, which is a Hungarian sausage. Hungarian stuff I've come across before, like there's a Hungarian butcher around Saint Laurent, and also another Hungarian restaurant close to the Mile End that I've never stepped into, but this color just intrigues me, so I figured, why not? It's only gonna be a couple of minutes on the grill, so it'd be a good way to get some extra meals done for the rest of the week while I'm actually doing the build-up to my vacation. Because that's the thing is, as I'm recording this, I'm gonna be 1 week away from being off work and going on vacation for a good 2 weeks. So there'll be more videos to record of me exploring around Montreal, maybe other spots, do some grilling here, and just take care of the house while I have some extra time on my hands. So we'll see what else happens over here. But on that note, I'm just gonna make some room into the back. And I think I should do a little bit of a cleanup over here, just to be sure that, because I got a lot of gunk that's left over from one of my last grillings, and I don't want to have too much of that when I'm going to be putting together my sausages. So as you can see that the chicken is all well done, and I'm just working on the sprouts and on the sausages right now, because the thing is that after all that was said and done, I was running out of some heat, so I need to redo a little bit of the charring over here to make it cook a little bit quicker without having to refill some charcoal in there. So I made a judgment call. I had that last wooden plank I've been keeping aside for a little while, lit that up, so I should be able to get it all cooked and nice and tender to be able to get some good meals for the rest of the week and the rest of my veggies done. So it's probably going to take a few more minutes, a little bit more flipping, but we'll be right back very soon for the final taste test. Because honestly, I'm hungry. I'm looking forward to trying that chicken out. So here we are now, ready to have our meal at last. Still waiting for some time to have the sausages all smoked and charred up, but I feel like it's going to take a little bit of time because since I was running out of fire, I got the other plank going. It's probably going to be smoking that up pretty much, but I do have my Brussels sprouts here that I'm going to admit I'm kind of surprised about it because it did seem like it kind of got all gray, so it smoked up more than I expected, and I guess I could give it a taste test to see what that's like. Not bad, but it does taste a lot more smoked than I expected it to. But one thing's for sure is that this corn on the cob is going to be super tender and tasty because it's one of the first things I was grilling when I started the fire. Ooh. Yeah, corn on the cob on the barbecue, always awesome. But of course the pièce de résistance is going to be this piece of chicken that I'm about to test out. So let's see how this is like. Cooked pretty well, not too dry, juicy enough. Amazing. And I guess I should see what the chicken skin is going to be like since that is where all of the seasoning is located. Oh yeah, super satisfying. So overall, very nice meal, something brand new spices, but something familiar so that I'm able to combine everything all together. So a great way to be doing some more grilling on a Sunday evening as I'm wrapping things up before going back to work and also slowly getting back to vacation mode. Such is going to be a thing of beauty. So until next time everybody, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe, and thanks for watching. And once again, if you like what you see, you know what to do. You got it. Hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my cooking, my wanders, the stories I share, the recipes I share you, and everything that comes with it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, I'll leave in the comments and I'll see what I could do. So until then, take care, see you next time, and above all else, enjoy the ride. Oh man, that heat deflector is a game changer. I feel like I gotta do more stuff with my cooking again now that I have that in place.